2. Now, this was a fairly light patch from the developers, and I'm going to talk a bit more about that more at the end. But let's just start off right here. So, the first thing I'm going to be talking about is the crossbowmen and arbalest research cost increase. Um, the really important one is that they increased crossbowmen from 125 food, 75 gold to 175 food, 125 gold. And the only thing that this really impacts is it gets rid of going up super fast by abusing the market to go up with an insanely quick uptime. And then even though you have like no eco, because you don't have many farmers or anything, you're still able to afford crossbow and bodkin, and then pressure with crossbows before your opponent was even up to castle age, and they were basically powerless to do anything about it except for copy the same strat and hope that they could get up at the same time as you. So by increasing the price, I think that's definitely a warranted nerf, and I don't think it's going to decrease the amount of crossbowmen we see. It's just going to decrease the power spike of the unit and allow more options in play. And with the change to pathing, we might see more knights as well with this decrease. The arbalest nerf, I'm not as on board with, but it does also bring back the power spike of like a super fast imperial arb timing. Now with bracer, I think that would be in total 750 food, 600 gold, which is a lot of resources to go up on a very low economy with. The next change is that they're increasing feudal age stone walls from 900 to 1080. This really only affects arena or maps where you start off with stone walls, and basically stops people from trushing you as quickly. I think that's a good or a good buff to stone walls, good nerf to trushing on arena. Then you have elephant archer. They're going from -7 to -4 for their armor class. They have cav archer armor, and so basically the only thing that this does is basically it makes skirms are still going to be a good counter to them, but elephant archer was such an expensive unit, and countered by such an easy thing as skirmisher made it like the worst unit in the game. They've also had their cost decrease from 90 food to 80 food, and so this is a move in the right direction. The issue with elephant archer is still going to be that it's a ranged unit that costs a lot of food and a lot of gold, and so it's very hard to mass. But this is a change in the right direction. Armored elephants now get affected by siege engineers. Um, Honestly, this only affects Hindustanis and Bengalis, and I don't think armored elephants needed this. The armored elephant is a really good battering ram replacement, but we'll see what happens. I'm not going to talk about this Empire War stuff. Doesn't really matter all that much unless you play Empire Wars. Moving on to Bengalis. So Bengalis are getting 3/3 armor for their monks. Um, it is a bit. How do I say this? It's a bit it's a bit better than some people are making it out to be. Like here, I'm going to put up Spirit of the Laws um, breakdown of it. And his is kind of weird because he gives all of the units full blacksmith upgrades in Castle Age for them, and then goes off of that. But he doesn't give the monk sanctity, and he doesn't break it down there. And a lot of times you're not going to see full attack upgrades on your scouts, or your light cav, or your knights, or your pikemen. You're definitely going to see them on crossbow or skirmisher if they're out on the field, because everybody gets fletching and then bodkin in Castle Age. But you're less likely to see melee attack on units. And then also you're going to see sanctity a lot if the person's going for a lot of monks. So I just wanted to do a breakdown of that. So here's going to be the numbers, and then next to those numbers, I'm going to have the correct numbers. And then next to those numbers, I'm going to be the amount of hits it would take with if the monk had sanctity. So it is a big deal for the Bengali monks, especially if you're playing on a map like Arena, which they were already like much better on than they were on a an open map like Arabia, because they're gonna go from taking 3 hits by a normal scout to 4 hits, and then they go from 2 hits by a light cav to 3 hits unless the light cav has forging or is a Gujara light cav because they just get bonuses. Um, and then if they get sanctity, they go from taking what is it? They go from taking they go to taking 6 hits from a scout, which is insane because that basically means that if you have the enemy has scouts on the field and you are Bengalis with sanctity, you can basically always convert scouts because the amount of time the minimum you need is 8 seconds to convert a scout. Um, and scouts attack in intervals of every 2 seconds. So they can get off 4 hits in 8 seconds, and then they still need 2 more hits to convert or to kill your monk if you have sanctity research. So you're a lot more likely to convert, basic scouts. And then even with if they get light cav, it still takes 4 hits to kill your monk. So if you start converting before they have engaged your monk, even if they are close, you still have a chance to convert that light cav before it kills your monk. So very big change for that. That being said, I don't think it covers, even with like the monk armor increase and the changes to elephant archer, which Bengalis have good elephant archers. It doesn't change the fact that Bengali mid game is absolutely trash, and their eco bonus isn't really that good. It's not super powerful, and so you have a like generic Dark and Feudal Age, then you go up to Castle Age and you have no options, and then you try to survive until like late Imperial Age and hope that you can do something with like elephants or elephant archers or anything like that. So do I think it's going to change the Civ a lot? No, I still think that the Civ is going to be like very, very bad on open maps. They'll probably go up to above average on closed maps, but the Civ as a whole, I think, still has issues. This is just a DM change. Burgundians is the next meaningful change. So their Coustilier is getting a nerf. Now this nerf basically means that they can't one-shot things like Arbs or Vils or Monks or whatnot. Actually, I think they could still one-shot Monks, even with this change. Um, and then they also have their ecotech discount going from -50% to -40%. Now, as a whole, on a win rate side, they are still doing very good. Like if we go to age statistics, they are still, I believe, in the top 10. Yeah, they're 10th overall in win rate. If you look above 1700, which this doesn't have anything above 2K or anything like that. So, but if you do, so they are a strong Civ, above average win rate on all maps. And especially in closed maps, they're very good. But if you look at the top level of play, they all talk about how Burgundians are actually like absolutely nuts. Like you have one of the best ecos in the game. You have the best unique unit in the game, even post nerf here. And then your late game, like usually if you have a really strong eco, your late game's kind of bad. Burgundian have a really 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 strong late game. So I think this is a push in the right direction for definitely for like high level balance and stuff, but I don't think it goes far enough. They're still insanely good, and this unit I think needs a cost increase. For I mean like I'm not a fan of the whole design in general, but for a unit that costs 55 food, 55 gold, so it's cheaper even than a camel, it performs insanely well. Dravidians receive Bombard Cannon. Their stable is absolutely garbage, so they didn't really have anything to counter things like bombard cannons or onagers in the late game. This is another one, kind of like the Bengalis, where their tech tree is just really bad. And on a patch where you're nerfing crossbow and arbalest, giving them bombard cannon is kind of just a band-aid. I still think that something needs to be done with the Civ because they're just not very strong. I would rate them like a D tier Civ with an F tier late game. Adding bombard cannon brings them to like a D tier late game. It's still just not very good. On the other hand, you have Gujaras. Gujaras are like an SSSS plus tier Civ. Insane. They've been sitting at an above a 60% win rate pretty much since they've come out. And then let's look at the changes. There really are no changes. Their elite Shravamsarada is getting like the smallest nerf imaginable. Like the Shravamsarada as a whole, where it's really strong, is in Castle Age because you can counter both meta options out of your stable. You can counter crossbows with Shravamshas, and you can counter knights with your insanely strong camels. If we talk about that for a second, their bonus damage is going from 50% down to 40%. It's still applying to all mounted units, which includes the armored elephant. So they still essentially have siege ramps in the Castle Age, which is nuts. But the Shravamsarada in Castle Age hasn't been touched, no cost increase or anything like that. Their elite Shravamsarada, they don't give the old value, but they went down from 800, 600 to 850, 500, so it's not cheaper on gold. This unit is such an incredible raiding unit and counters a very gold intensive unit like very hard. Fastest unit in the game by a mile. And these changes don't change that at all. Another big issue is that they had a really strong early game eco with their sheep garrison. So they've changed it. I'm not really going to talk about like the whole 15 plus log whatever. Basically, they lost 15% of their food income from before. Now before, they basically had a villain and a half advantage from the moment that all of their sheep went into the mill. So if you were able to find all your sheep fairly early, and then you did the standard build where you built 2 houses and then sent 1 vill to build the mill, and then garrisoned all your sheep, you were essentially like from 2.5 minutes onward, you were a vill and a half above your opponent. Now, with the change, they have gone to 24.1 food per minute if they garrison all 8 sheep. Now, for reference, a shepherd from a generic civ, so not Britons or anything, brings in 19.8 food per minute. So, even after the change, they still have a 1.2 vill lead over their opponent. So, all in all, yes, they're getting like some very light nerfs, but for a civ that was sitting at a 60+% win rate for like 3 months, this doesn't even come close to addressing the elephant in the room. Another top tier civ, if we look at statistics, so Hindustanis were the 3rd best overall by win rate, and then they also had a fairly good pick rate, and then Gujaras, as we see, 60% win rate here. So Hindustanis, their Ghulam is getting 10% or 10 HP nerf on the standard and the elite version, and then they lose access to Halberdier. So while the Ghulam nerf definitely needed, it doesn't fix the issue with the Ghulam, which is that the Ghulam is a unit that single-handedly kills all Mesocivs, especially Mayans. So it's a much better version of the Eagle Warrior because it has 5, I believe it has higher attack than an Eagle. It has 5 bonus damage versus archers. It has 2 bonus damage versus Eagle Warriors. and it has pass-through damage. So this one unit alone, even after the nerfs, like I've heard people talking about how, with this HP decrease, because now I believe it has the same HP as an Eagle Warrior, but you have a higher attack and you have pass through damage and you have the bonus versus Eagles, so you just win that fight like hands down every time. And then the other change that they're getting is that they lose access to Halberdier. Now, I've watched a ton of high level games involving Hindustanis, and the amount of times that they go for Halberdier are zero games. So they lose access to Halberdier, but it's literally just like an on paper nerf because they never go for the unit anyway, and it doesn't affect why they're so strong. So in my opinion, you're still gonna see them at like a 55% win rate going forward from here. Koreans, their elites getting one more damage from skirms. This is good. If you get like a heavy mass of this, it's insane. I don't think Koreans as a whole need a nerf, but it's definitely something where it's like if your opponent starts getting tons and tons of war wagons, you can't do anything about it. And then the last change is bonus damage for the Sicilians is getting reduced from 50% to 33%. I don't think that this addresses the Cavalier in the room, which is that with Hauberg, it's very difficult to counter their Cavalier because you couldn't go for Halb, and you can't go for Arb, and you can't go for your own Cav. I would have preferred them to just say, hey, we made a mistake and get rid of Hauberg, and I don't know, or if you're gonna do this for a Civ that's already like middle of the road and underperforms most of the time, like if you're gonna nerf this, buff the Sergeant. I don't know, give them something else to go for besides Hauberg Cavalier. Anyway, that's just my opinion. I don't think the devs in this patch addressed all that much. I still think that the two Indian civs that were at the very tippity top of the win rates and pick rates are still going to be there after this patch. I still think that the two Indian civs from Dynasties of India that were at the bottom of win rates are still going to be close to the bottom after this patch, because what they got doesn't fix them. They still have the same lack of options. And I think that this patch as a whole is just like meh. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day.